Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
Welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we're going to start off with what media we're consuming, and I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm not going to make the mistake I made last time and go first and then forget about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Sorry, should I do some? So what media I am currently consuming? I'm currently playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Maybe my favorite out of the new trilogy of Assassin's Creed games. I don't know. I have to go back and finish Origins first and like really decide. But I think it's my favorite so far. Well, I'm watching Game of Thrones. I'm not playing Game of Thrones. I'm watching Game of Thrones. I'm on season 3. I just started season 3 last night.
Yeah, I think
really.
I was gonna say when I get HBO Max to watch Wonder Woman around the end of this month, I might get it sooner, honestly, because they released a new episode of Euphoria, and I kind of want to watch that. And you already know I want to watch that Adventure Time episode. And I'm definitely, because I'm on episode 3, season 2. I might just restart season 2 and try to actually watch the show and finish it, because everybody says it's one of like the greatest shows that ever graced television. So. And I read the first book. It was good, so I might finish it.
Wait, you read the first Song of Ice and Fire book? I didn't read any of them. I honestly refuse to read the books until George R. R. Martin finishes writing them, because I'm not just going to sit at this next book and wait for years and years and years for this next book to come out. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that until
I only read it for Miss Natsuga's class. I read it for my English class. And it took me a while.
Wait, she assigned you guys the book?
No, she assigned us any book. I just chose them. I was originally going to watch.
I was going to say, because
I was originally going to read one of the Witcher books, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was broke, so I couldn't buy it either. So I just went to the library and grabbed the first Game of Thrones. Well, the book is literally called Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. So yeah.
Well, I mean, the first Witcher book, I mean, it's a little late to be telling you this now, because it's not any, well, I mean, it's still on there, but like you're not in high school anymore. But the first Witcher book is it has a free audiobook on YouTube.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
I'm not really big into audiobooks.
Honestly, I'm not big into audiobooks, but I don't have a lot of time to just start sitting and reading anymore. So I'm planning on getting an Audible subscription and start like actually listening to audiobooks. There's a lot of books I want to read.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I do love reading. I just don't have time to sit and read. But if I'm able to like listen to an audiobook while I'm doing something else, then
yeah, I can see how convenient it would be to like listen to it while you're working out or something like that. That way, because it would be difficult to read and work out. So much easier to actually listen to.
Yeah.
Like I listen to podcasts when I work out.
Yeah, I've been listening to a true crime. Does that count? Do podcasts count as media? Yep. They do, right? Yeah. I have also been listening to a podcast on Spotify called True Crime All the Time. It is a true crime podcast about serial killers. I'm a forensic chemistry major, so crime and like serial killers, I don't know, that stuff kind of interests me. So yeah, I've been listening to that. My eyes look really weird in these glasses. Get yourself some Easy Gang Volume 1 limited edition screeners. Free plug for Berlizzi. You're welcome, Berlin. And what else? What's the last thing? Oh, I've been watching Mandalorian, but I feel like we all have been watching Mandalorian because, like, yeah, new episode was amazing. My second favorite Star Wars character. I'm not even gonna. I don't want to spoil.
My favorite Star Wars character was in the episode before that. So both of our
so good. So she's somewhere in my top 10, but I haven't. Is she somewhere? I made a stop. Go ahead with your list. I got to look through because I did make a top 10 Star Wars characters list.
Off top, immediately it goes Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan. After I get to Obi-Wan, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure after that, honestly.
Ahsoka's my 5th favorite. Okay. My favorite list, my top 10 favorite list, because I made a list with my friend Isaiah. He also is really into Star Wars. We're both really into Star Wars. But
Darth Maul.
My top 10 list is. Oh, Darth Maul's not even on my list.
Yeah, Maul's probably 4th.
He's not. I like Darth My list is Luke Skywalker at number 1, Boba Fett, Kyle Katarn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Poe Dameron. Even though I didn't like the sequel trilogy, I really like Poe. Han Solo. Let my phone reopen, please. Mara Jade, Kit Fisto, and Bo-Katan. So,
yeah,
that's my list.
Yeah, for me, Luke would probably be just behind Maul, because Maul, Clone Wars and Rebels really elevated Maul for me.
Oh yeah, Maul is dope.
Maul is dope. Yeah. But speaking of true crime and murderers and stuff, I've been watching Hannibal. It's really good so far. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like halfway through the 3rd episode. I had stopped watching it for whatever reason. It was doing something else. But I might watch it, an episode or 2 today. Something that I actually can add that I just literally finished watching. Again, speaking of like death, but I watched Coco, and it was good. And you know how people say
the Disney movie?
Yeah, the Disney movie. People always say that they cried watching Coco, and I'm watching it. And as I'm watching, I'm like halfway through. I'm like, why would I cry? This movie isn't gonna make me cry. I can see why, and I can see where it's gonna get sad, but I'm like, this isn't gonna make me cry at all. And then it got to the end, and I cried, and I was like, why am I crying? Why is this happening? Why would you do this to me, Disney? What are you doing? Right. I did not expect to cry, but it happened. My eyes started like tearing up in the 3rd act, and then once it got to the very end, and the music was playing, I just started crying. It's a really good movie. It's like a really obvious.
It is a good movie.
It's like a really obvious twist in the movie that when you watch it, you see it and you're like, it's obvious that this is going to be the twist. But then they throw in an extra twist that you don't expect because you're so focused on the twist that's obvious that you don't expect that extra twist. And I was like, that was a good one. You got me. But yeah, that movie's really good. It took me, I don't know why it took me so long to watch it. I guess it kind of just, it didn't go over my radar because I heard about it. I planned on seeing it eventually. And I guess I missed it when it was in theaters. And then I just never watched it once I got Disney Plus. But
I haven't seen Moana yet, so.
I haven't finished it.
I get you.
I haven't finished it. I watched like half of it. I need to finish it. It's a good movie. Other things I've been watching. I watched live action Rurouni Kenshin movies. Rurouni Kenshin is a anime and a manga. That was one that I watched and read a long time ago. And I haven't. I'm probably about to rewatch the anime after watching these movies. And the movie's really good. And it's actually what prompted my discussion in the last episode about the lightsaber fights, because the sword fighting in that movie is so good. It is ridiculous. It's some of the best sword fighting I've ever seen in a movie, especially a samurai movie. He uses a sword has a reverse blade, so the blade is on the back and the front is dull because he like revoked killing people after he'd done it for so long because he was basically an assassin. And he's basically just slapping people with a hunk of metal. And it's funny, but it also just looks cool. Him just slapping people with a sword, which first off, people are definitely dying because he's hitting people full force as if he was going to cut their heads off in the neck, on the head. So he's cracking skulls. He's definitely killing people. He's 100% killing people. At one point, he even hit somebody's arm and said, "You're never going to be able to hold a sword again. I just like tore your ligaments and shattered your bones." And this takes place in like the late 1800s Japan. So technologies and like that kind of steampunk era. They have guns obviously, and he just broke that. He just shattered that dude's arm, and medicine isn't where it is today. So they're just like, well, I guess you're never going to hold that again. But yeah, those movies were good, and it's making me want to rewatch the anime. I've been watching Mandalorian as well, obviously. We just talked about it. I'm also still making my way through Rebels. And I was watching this anime called Carol and Tuesday that is by the director, by Shinichiro Watanabe, who's most famous for Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. And it was really good. I really enjoyed Carol and Tuesday. It's about, this isn't like an action-oriented show like Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo was. It's about these two musicians basically trying to make their way in the world. That's all I got for what media I've been consuming. So going into a bit of news, current events. I have a few things on here. Start off with Oscar Isaac. They say that he's going to play Solid Snake. So it hasn't been 100% confirmed. Nobody has said nobody officially working on this movie has said, hey, Oscar Isaac is going to be Solid Snake. The director, Jordan Vogt-Roberts, who directed Kong Skull Island, who's been writing it for years. And I discovered him through some concept art of the movie I saw a long time ago and found out he was attached to it. He'd been working on it for years and been trying to get it greenlit for a long time. On his Twitter, he posted a picture of him sitting next to Oscar Isaac. And at the top, it was like a cardboard box, a snake, and an exclamation point, which, are all famous symbols in reference to Metal Gear.
Oh, it's nice.
But still, that's not really confirmation. That's just him saying, I've been talking to Oscar Isaac, I guess. And also, he has a really big beard, and he was shaved in this. But granted, we've been all in the house for forever. So I don't know if he's posted any recent pictures for me to know if he still has a beard or not. So I don't know if that picture's old or if it's recent. And it hasn't been 100% confirmed, but I could 100% see Oscar Isaac as Snake.
Solid Snake, of course. I definitely can too.
Yeah, he definitely has the face. He 100% has the face. You just give him a bandana, and he's Snake. I'm really excited for this. I've been excited for it ever since I heard that he was Jordan was working on it. And I'm seeing the concept art. He's also just a big fan of Metal Gear. And whenever somebody actually cares about what they're working on and actually know what they're doing, it's like Kevin Feige with Marvel. He loves comics. And he does his best to, have them translated to film. And that's what Jordan Vogt-Roberts feels like. He feels like a person who actually cares about these games. He's played these games. He knows what we like about these games. And unlike a lot of video game movies where people just pretty much suck the essence of what we love about the video game franchise and out of the movie and just make it some generic slop fest, he seems like he's going to make this exactly what we want it to be. A military movie that's kind of goofy, because Metal Gear is super goofy sometimes, despite how serious it tries to be. And Kojima games basically already feel like movies with gameplay in between them. Because this cutscene is so long. At one point, I think it was like an hour-long cutscene in Metal Gear, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm just watching a movie. This isn't a game anymore. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I've only played.
Go ahead.
Oh, God.
What were you saying?
I was just saying I've only played Metal Gear Solid 5, and I've only played Resurgence, whatever the one with Raiden is.
Yeah, Rising
Revengeance, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Phantom Pain is like, in terms of timeline, is like the earliest game.
Okay. Oh yeah, because it's Big Boss. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. The other two things we're not going to talk about too much because we already have weird stuff to talk about. But we just want to say at this point, because this will be up on Thursday, Cyberpunk is out and Attack on Titan Season 4 has started. And that's dope.
I will more than likely be playing Cyberpunk. I'm not a real big anime fan.
Yeah, Attack on Titan.
So I will be.
Yeah, the day we're filming this, it's coming out. So I'm excited to watch that probably when we're finished recording, honestly. You're not a fan of this, but Haley Steinfeld is Kate Bishop. And I'm excited for the
I don't care about her casting. I don't care about her casting at all. It's just I'm not a fan of MCU Hawkeye whatsoever.
I think she's a great casting choice. I think it'll be good. I think you'll watch it and you'll like it. I think you will.
I'm not going to like it. I'm blatantly not going to enjoy it whatsoever.
If
I watch the first episode.
If you keep that attitude, of course you're not going to like it because
I just know that I'm not going to like it.
Because you're going to be going into it looking for yourself not to like it instead of trying to find the good. Have faith.
No, even if I go in with a blank slate, I know that I'm not going to like it. I'm fully aware of this fact.
Look, the reason I'm happy is because
that's just a blatant.
Because this is them going out of their way to purposely make Hawkeye closer to comic accurate than he was originally. Because clearly, when they were originally adding Hawkeye to the MCU, they weren't really worried about him being a big character or important in any type of way. Because he just showed up it was. But I would say the same for both him and Black Widow, honestly, because they both just showed up as side characters in someone else's movie, and in every movie,
Black Widow was from.
She was in.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, she was in Iron Man too, and like I'm not saying they aren't important characters and I don't like them because I like both of their characters. I just feel like in the MCU specifically, they've been doing their characters a bit of a disservice. Like Black Widow should have had her own movie a while ago. Me and you both agree that Black Widow should have came out in between Civil War and Infinity War, which is the time that it actually takes place. And it would have made her death way more impactful if we learned all that stuff about her backstory and people actually grew to love her character a lot more, because a lot of people already see Hawkeye and Black Widow as these regular people fighting with these gods. And because of that, you know, a decent amount of people who haven't read the comics don't like those characters. But, you know, you love both Black Widow and Hawkeye. I like Hawkeye. I'm not as big into Black Widow, but I do still like her. And I'm just happy to see them giving them more of a spotlight and making specifically Hawkeye a bit more comic accurate. And I love Kate Bishop, and I'm happy to see her bring it to the MCU.
I just want to ask if you've seen the set photos that have been released.
Yeah. So far, I've only seen the one with her walking in a subway with Lucky and them sitting on a stoop.
They're not making it any more comic accurate. I'm just gonna tell you that now. If they wanted to. Now here's what they could have done. This would have made me at least at the very a little bit more enjoy it. I still wouldn't enjoy it, but like a little bit more enjoyment. What they could have done. He and his wife divorce, or his kids wind up dying, or something like that, or like his wife winds up dying, or like something tragic happens to his children, his wife divorces him, all that stuff. That would automatically make him so much more comic accurate. However, his children are not only going to be in the show, he's already going to have a very good relationship with his children based on these set photos. They're not making this any more comic accurate than it was. The closest thing to comic accuracy is he is Lucky, he's going deaf, and Kate's in it. That's pretty much it. That's where the accuracy stops.
I don't think that they need to get rid of the family to make it more comic accurate. They could still keep his family there. They don't have to. Here's the thing, though. It doesn't need to be 100%.
That goes against.
It doesn't need to be 100% comic.
But that goes against everything, every main core value of Comic Hawkeye, though. Is him having a family, him having a wife, that goes against every main core value of Comic Book Hawkeye.
And it's
like
okay.
Every single one.
And it's okay for those values to change. Like, I don't...
No, that's what makes him him, though. That's what makes him Comic Hawkeye. That's what sets him apart from everybody else. That's that's what...
This isn't Comic Hawkeye. And for me personally, he's close enough to Comic Hawkeye. He's close enough to Comic Hawkeye in personality that I'm okay with it.
No, he's not even... They're two completely separate personalities. Comic Hawkeye is a... How do I best describe Comic Hawkeye? A depressed late 20s, early 30s guy that covers all of his pain with sarcasm jokes and is constantly purposefully putting himself in over his head. MCU Hawkeye is a happy middle-aged dad with a stay-at-home family that loves family and loves what he does and does everything for his family. They're like two completely different characters in personality, in looks, and motivations. They're not the same character whatsoever.
That's fair.
That's not it.
That's fair. I see where you're coming from. I just think that I think you could grow to like this show. I think that you could like this show. Here's the thing. I think that you just, it's okay for things to be different in here. It's okay.
No, this isn't different. This is different, but the problem is they're not the same character. You may as well just label this. You may as well not even call it Hawkeye because it's not about Hawkeye that happens to be a spy. That's pretty much what it's about.
It's okay, man. It's different. It'll be fine. It'll be good.
No. Hawkeye as a character means something very near and dear and personal to my heart. And this betrays everything about it that makes it special. Like, everything.
Okay. Well, agree to disagree. So the Game Awards is happening the same day that Cyberpunk released the 10th. So Tuesday. And we're gonna just go through the nominees, and we're gonna say which ones we did vote for because we both already voted. So I'm gonna start.
I only voted for one because I forgot that the game existed.
We're gonna start from the bottom because I want to save the best for last. So first, we're gonna go best multiplayer. So the options were Animal Crossing, Among Us, Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, Fall Guys, and Valorant. And I chose Among Us because it's the only one I've played, and that game is fun, and it blew up. I know you weren't a big fan of Among Us. You played?
No, I like watching YouTubers play it, but I've never enjoyed playing it myself.
I feel like out of all of these, the one that you've played.
Who?
I feel like out of all of these, the one you've played is Warzone.
Wait, what'd you say?
I was saying out of all of these, I feel like the one
I've played Warzone. I've definitely played Warzone the most. I was gonna say I played Warzone the most. I played Fall Guys. I played Among Us. I actually played Fall Guys a lot back when it first dropped on PlayStation Plus. I was like, ooh, I really do like Fall Guys. It was a lot of fun. And then what were the other options?
Valorant and
Animal Crossing. Okay. I haven't played Animal Crossing. I wanted to play Animal Crossing. I don't have a Switch yet. Hopefully I'll get one soon. And I didn't play Valorant. I'm not a big fan of arena shooters. I've never been a big fan of hero arena shooters. I just got Overwatch, and Overwatch has been out for years and years and years, and I just got Overwatch. It's all right. I'm not a super big fan of those. I'd probably choose Warzone personally. I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan, and I do really, really, really love Fall Guys, and it's got a really inventive gameplay loop and everything. But just the amount of the amount of fun I have with my friends playing Warzone, and I feel like I don't have fun playing Fall Guys without my friends, but I'll have fun playing Warzone both with friends and alone. So I'm probably gonna have to choose Warzone for that.
But yeah, I'm just gonna go through the ones that we both honestly care for. Some of them are just stuff that I'm just yeah, these are just some of them about esports, and I'm just
I don't watch any esports at all, so yeah.
So one I'll just go through real quick is best role-playing game, and I chose the options were Final Fantasy, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, and Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Wasteland 3, and I chose Persona 5 Royal because, like I said, Persona 5.
And what was the last option?
The last one was, the last one on here is Yakuza Like a Dragon, but I said the Yakuza before Wasteland 3.
And you said that Genshin Impact was on there?
Yeah.
I'd probably choose Genshin Impact. I didn't play a lot of it, and I know I need to play more. I deleted it for Miles Morales, but
yeah. Now this one is going to be full of games that both of us have played multiple times. So, wow, I'm hating everything that's happening right now on my laptop, but I keep clicking things by mistake and reloading the page. Come on, let's not be weird. I'm gonna have to cut out these bits of silence. But
I would say there's we're gonna have to cut out quite a bit of this episode.
So the next one is best action adventure, and I told you who I voted for this before. We
agree on this one.
Yeah, we were recording, but I'm going to cut that part out because at the very beginning, I think I'm going to clip that. I'm going to start clipping the very beginning, when I start recording and before I go 3, 2, 1. I already clipped one of those and put them on YouTube because we had a little fun conversation in the beginning. I think I'm going to keep doing that. So, yeah, me and you agree. I chose Miles Morales. But I
would also choose Miles Morales.
The options were, I don't know, that might change if you know what the options are. Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
It's not.
Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and The Last of Us Part 2. And I don't really think The Last of Us Part 2 is really much of an action adventure. But, yeah, we both chose Miles Morales. The next one for Best Action.
Yeah, that's not changing.
For Best Action, we had Streets of Rage 4, Neo 2, Half-Life Alyx, Hades, and Doom Eternal. I chose Doom Eternal. It's the only one of these that I've played, and I like it a lot.
So repeat those.
It was Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4.
Doom Eternal.
So the next one, I voted The Last of Us Part 2. We had several conversations about it, and it's innovation and accessibility. I've talked about tons of times of how accessible The Last of Us 2 is for people with disabilities. And the other options were Watch Dogs Legion, Hyperdot, I'm not sure what that is, Grounded, I've heard of that, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Have you seen anything in the settings that would suggest how accessible Valhalla is for people with disabilities?
Yes, actually, Valhalla. Before you even start the game, honestly, I was a little overwhelmed with the settings. Before you even start the game, you just kind of sit there and have to personally. You almost tailor the experience to yourself. You basically create the game that you want, or you make the game that you want to see basically in the beginning in the settings. You can change all the settings at any point in the game. It's quite extensive. As far as disabilities go, sorry, that was my mother sneezing in the background and she sneezed again. As far as accessibility for people with disabilities, I don't know that I don't know. I don't remember a lot of the settings that were there, so I can't say that it's great for people with disabilities or you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. I'd have to go back and look at the settings. So for now, I'll just trust you with. I'll trust your choice.
Yeah. So for best performance, the options we have are Ashley Johnson as Ellie from Last of Us Part 2, Laura Bailey as Abby from The Last of Us Part 2, Daisuke Tsuji as Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima, Logan Cunningham as Hades from Hades, and Najee Jeter as Miles Morales in Spider-Man Miles Morales. I chose Laura Bailey as AB. I say Abby. I just like.
I'm automatically going with the guy that played Jin Sakai. His performance was
yeah. Jin Sakai was great.
Riveting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if they decide to continue the series. I personally want them to make.
They've hinted that it's going to be a.
Yeah, I personally want them to make a Infamous game first and then another Ghost of Tsushima. But who knows if it'll happen that way. So.
Sorry, do you hear my mother sneezing in the background? Just quick question.
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, good. All right.
So
you can cut that little question out. But.
So for best art direction, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori Will of the Wisp, and The Last of Us Part 2. I voted for Hades because the just art and animation of Hades for me is it's gorgeous. And I also, because of it, I ended up looking up a bunch of stuff for who's been working on this so I can follow them and look at their art. And I ended up on their YouTube channel where they have videos talking about their art process. And it really gave me an insight into how they make their games. And I'm waiting for them to release an art book. They don't have an art book for Hades out yet, but the moment they do, I'm purchasing it. Runner-up for me was Ghost of Tsushima because they do have an art book out that I'm probably going to get eventually. And it's a beautiful game.
Ghost of Tsushima would be my number one for art direction. Automatically offer it.
For best narrative, we have, I don't know what this is, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. I personally chose The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like Naughty Dog games in terms of narrative are just some of the best in my personal opinion. And this one was just another, example of that. I feel like you might go Ghost.
You're gonna have to repeat that because
it's the options.
I'm sorry, I'm mama.
The options for best narrative for I guess Ram, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. I said I voted for The Last of Us Part 2, and I said you probably.
I'm voting for Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. So for best game direction, we have Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and The Last of Us Part 2. I actually don't remember what I voted for this. I think this was another one that I voted The Last of Us Part 2 for, because I do remember, I think specifically voting for four times for The Last of Us Part 2.
I would also vote for Ghost of Tsushima here. So
yeah. So for Game of the Year, we have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades,
my answer.
Animal Crossing, and The Last of Us Part 2. Again, I voted The Last of Us Part 2. Like I said, I would vote
Ghost of Tsushima. Oh my God, what was that kickback?
Of all of these games in Game of the Year, I have a feeling are going to win at least one award. Each of these games are winning at least one award.
Personally, I would have voted Miles Morales for Game of the Year. Personally, like if that was an option.
Yeah, I think they didn't
because
of how late it came out.
Probably.
Also because it was probably just a stacked year, honestly. A lot of good games came out.
Not too many good games this year.
Yeah, that's probably why. Because it was definitely it's a short game, and it was definitely out long enough for them to consider it. So it was probably just a lot of good games came out. And even though I'm not big into it, like I said this before, I think maybe the last podcast or the one before it, but someone said Animal Crossing will go down as one of the most important games in like history. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then I thought about it. And I was like, no, he's right. Because it has brought in a bunch of new gamers who never play video games. I mean, like people in their 60s who've never touched a game console will sit down and play Animal Crossing. And it's showing people how much of a healthy pastime sitting down and playing a video game can be when you're not doing it in excess and excessively. Excessively. I don't know. My words are being messed up. But yeah, that's it for the Game Awards so far.
So I'm not going to be watching the Game Awards because I'm going to be too entranced in Cyberpunk.
I'll definitely be watching it because I don't know. Let's just talk about some things that might be announced there. I think people have been saying it. I don't think it's going to happen, but people are like they might show God of War gameplay, and I don't know. But it is coming out next year, so I have a feeling they do have some type of trailer ready. If it's coming out next year, which is still insane in my mind, I'm like, is this going to be another Miles Morales situation? Because there's no way.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as you were saying that. Like, what if they just release gameplay like a week before it comes out?
God of War came out the same year as Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales came out 2 years later, and it was only like a 10-hour game. So in my mind, I'm like, what if this game is like an Atreus game, and it's only like 10 hours long? Honestly, wouldn't be mad. And honestly, I wouldn't be really mad at if games started to release like mini games in between each release. I wouldn't be mad at that.
I wouldn't either. It would help expand the universe and stuff like that.
And we wouldn't have to wait as long to get another taste of that series.
Right.
Just like I feel like it really started with Uncharted. Uncharted started.
I was gonna say Uncharted Lost Legacy.
And now it seems like it might become a thing that PlayStation does a lot. But on to the next thing. I want to talk about Milestone Comics. And
this is gonna be all you, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking before Mir starts to butt in. But essentially, Milestone Comics it was a subsidiary of DC Comics, and it was started by a group of black guys who wanted to make black superheroes and black stories. Are you good, bro?
Sorry, I just cut myself. Yeah, no.
Yeah. But yeah,
I bought Batarangs online, and I've been playing. I was sitting here like fidgeting with it. I accidentally cut my finger. So
that is the wildest thing to hear. Man, I just made a mistake cut myself on my Batarang.
No, like I literally like look at these. They're cool, but
yeah, I know. But yeah, Milestone Comics. They set out to make a universe of black superheroes. So their like universe, they called it the Dakotaverse. It was basically a universe where there's this city called Dakota City, and in this city there was this thing that they called the Big Bang event, but it's not like the way you think it is. It all started because there was a gang war, and the police showed up to stop, basically the fighting and the rioting. And they threw tear gas, but unbeknownst to the police officers, the tear gas was laced with a mutagen called quantum juice that resulted in a bunch of like metahumans being created. And one of those metahumans, most popularly, is Static Shock. He went there to get revenge on a bully that was a part of a gang, and he got caught up in the smoke, and he got his electromagnetic powers. Basically, this company was using Black people as an experiment. Like I said, they really, their goal was to touch on Black issues. So the idea of a big corporation using us as an experiment is not unrealistic. It's something that's happened in real life. A big philosophy that they used when creating characters were, there are three major like character archetypes, and they base it off of the three most popular superheroes ever: Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Their Superman is Icon. I know you've heard of Icon. Icon, he's an alien who crash landed on Earth in 1839.
I do love Icon.
Yeah, he crash landed on Earth in 1839 during slavery, and then a Black woman found him. She was obviously a slave at the time, and he was basically the ship or whatever was programmed to have him kind of like shapeshift into the first person he saw. So he turned into a Black man, and he lived as a slave until, of course, he wasn't a slave anymore. And it wasn't until the 90s that he actually became a superhero. So for like over 100 years, he actually was just living as a normal person. And every time he would obviously get to the point where he should be dead because he would be an old man, he would just restart his identity as the son of his previous identity. And he became a superhero when this girl broke into his house and tried to rob him. And then, he basically caught her, showed her what she was doing was wrong. And she basically discovered that he had powers. And she convinced him that he could help Black people with those powers that he has. He's essentially Superman. He's a Black Superman. I know, some people always get upset when you compare. It's like how some video game developers don't want to say that their video game is like a mix of one video game and another video game because they don't want to put themselves in that box. Just like that, they don't want to be put in the box of this is just a Black Superman. He's obviously not just a Black Superman, but he kind of is essentially the Black version of Superman. And there's no denying that. But that doesn't make him any less of a good character. The kind of Batman version that they created that wasn't nearly as popular as Icon and Static, though, was Hardware. And he was basically a genius who was working for a company that basically shortchanged him and like stole his work. So he decided to get back at the company who was actually working for a criminal enterprise. So he became Hardware. He's essentially like a combination of Iron Man and Batman. He's basically more like if Lucius Fox became Batman instead of Batman. And then last but not least, the Spider-Man character, Static Shock, was basically their teenage superhero that was meant to, be someone for kids to look up to. And, you said you're not the biggest fan of Static Shock. So
I'm not, honestly. I never have been. The closest thing to Static Shock that I've liked was the Young Justice version of Static Shock, the Young Justice cartoon. So I really, really like him in that, and I'm not even the biggest fan of the Young Justice show. So that's.
So what do you like about the Static Shock and Young Justice in comparison to Static Shock, like in his own cartoon?
I didn't see a lot of his cartoon. I only see a few episodes of his cartoon. I've read a lot more of his comics than I have seen of his cartoons, so I can really only speak to the comic version. But in Young Justice, the show, he seems a lot more like, he feels like he has a lot more agency to his character rather than just like bumbling from one like crime to the next and figuring out as he goes. He seems to have a lot more like agency in his movements. He feels like he really wants to be a superhero in Young Justice. And again, I can't speak to Static Shock and the Static Shock show as to how eager he is to become a superhero, but like he wants Black Lightning to be his mentor. He's like, oh, there's another dude with like similar powers to me. Let him be my mentor and all that stuff. I really like his dynamic with Black Lightning. Even though that only lasted for like 2 episodes, because that seems to be everything in Young Justice that's cool only lasts for like an episode and a half. Yeah. But yeah, no, like I don't know. I just feel like I like him a lot more in Young Justice. And he has like the whole arc in season 2 when he's first introduced with like the little runaway people. Yeah, I don't know. I like that.
For me, he's meant to be like their version of Spider-Man. He's meant to make mistakes at first and then slowly get better. For me, I feel like for him to be at that kind of, to get to that stage of agency faster, for him to be like confident, want to do what he wants to do, and actually be competent.
I wouldn't even say really be competent, but just like have more purpose in what he does. Like I don't know. I just prefer it if he was like, okay, something's going down. I'm gonna go at the very least try to intervene, kind of thing. And again, I can't speak to Static of the show, but like that's not what I feel like that's not usually where he comes from. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's not usually what he does.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sorry, words just got jumbled, but they really trying to push across the fact that he's a black teenager. He, for the most part, most people are taught to just mind your business. So when you see something happening, you don't want to get involved with that, especially since he doesn't know what these powers are. He's just some random kid that got caught up in this experiment, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So, I feel like with Static Shock, he's a character that just you have to hold out for a while to let him get to that point to where he realizes, much like Spider-Man, like, with great power comes great responsibility, and I can't no longer just ignore things when I see it, because like what Spider-Man said in Civil War to Iron Man, when the bad things happen and you have the power to stop it, but you don't do anything, they happen because of you.
Right. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll give him another shot. I don't know. I've just again.
That quote is really good, despite the fact that Spider-Man in that movie thought that it didn't make sense, even though it really did make a bunch of sense. Like immediately after he said it, he was like, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, yeah, it does make sense.
I don't know. We both have problems with MCU Spider-Man. I feel like I have more problems with MCU Spider-Man than maybe you do, but MCU Spider-Man is a special case. Special little buddy.
Yeah, for me, he just, well, we can talk about that another time. Let's not get into that. But yeah, those are the three kind of character archetypes that they started with. They were attempting to be revived. They were going to attempt a revival a few years ago, but it got halted because Dwayne McDuffie, kind of like the biggest creative mind in Milestone, was he had passed away, and his wife kind of like had filed a lawsuit against his other partners who had started Milestone with him when he were trying to restart it, because she felt like she was being like left out of it, and she wasn't going to be able to get like the portion of money she should have gotten from their, what they were going to end up making. And, that was eventually settled. And now they're going to, they were going to do comics, but now I feel like they're going to make a really big revival in film rather than comics with the Static Shock movie, which honestly, I'm really excited, because much like Miles, he's just another really cool black superhero that I could see becoming like Miles. I could see him becoming just as popular as Miles has because of Into the Spider-Verse and, the video game most recently. I could see Static Shock. I could see him getting his own video game eventually, honestly. He would be a really cool character to play as. In my mind, it would be like Infamous, except he could fly. Because in Infamous, he could glide, but he can't fly. So, right. And because the way his powers work is kind of similar. He shoots electricity, obviously, but he also has electromagnetism, so he can actually lift metal things up and throw them around. And I feel like a Static Shock video game would actually be really cool. And I feel like he's about to just introduce this universe, the Dakotaverse, to an entirely new group of people who never heard about it and only know Static as, a cartoon character. And by the way, his name is Static. It's not Static Shock. Static Shock is just the name of the comics. The comic wasn't even originally called Static Shock. It was just called Static. Later on, I'm not sure if after the show was called Static Shock because they eventually called the show Static Shock, or if, it was the other way around. I think I just said that wrong. What did I say? I'm not sure if they called the cartoon Static Shock because the comics ended up being called Static Shock, or if it was the other way around. That's what I meant to say. And yeah, his name is Static, not Static Shock. For anybody who calls him Static Shock, that's not his name. He's named after a song called Static by, who is the song by? James Brown.
Okay.
And speaking of Dwayne McDuffie, he was our childhood. Some of you people watching this are probably wondering, what do you mean he was your childhood? What I mean is that he wrote and I mean made significant contributions to a lot of the cartoons we grew up watching. Because he wrote for DC for a very long time. So most of these are going to be DC cartoons. Actually, I think every single one of these are at least WB-owned cartoons, which WB owns DC. So
I didn't watch the majority of superhero cartoons when I was a kid.
But they were great. You should...
I know they were great because I've been watching them, but...
Oh, I was about to say, so you're watching them now? Have you watched Justice League, the animated series?
I did. I've seen the entirety of Justice League, the animated series. I've seen the entirety of Justice League Unlimited. I've seen most of Batman, the animated series. I've seen most of Superman, the animated series. I didn't watch when I was a kid. I watched them in high school, but I didn't watch them when I was like an actual child.
Yeah, I need to rewatch. Well, finish, because I never even finished it when I watched it when I was a kid. But Superman, the animated series. So he wrote and produced several of these cartoons. The first one on top isn't even DC, but it is WB. It was Ben 10, Alien Force, and Ultimate Alien. He wrote and produced a lot of episodes for Ben 10. Ben 10 Alien Force is my favorite Ben 10 season, I guess. It was multiple seasons, serious. And, he wrote for that, and he is a part of the reason why it's so good. He also wrote and produced on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He obviously Static Shock, because that was a character he created. The original Teen Titans cartoon, and for several direct-to-DVD animated DC movies. 3 of which are Crisis on Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths, Justice League Doom, and All-Star Superman. So he was really out here making some memorable things. I feel like it's not that he doesn't get credit for it. He's not like what's his name? The dude that helped create Batman.
Bill Finger.
Yeah, he's not like Bill Finger. Like, he gets his credit. It's just that he isn't as, well known for it as I feel like he should be, because he contributed a lot to some of the most popular DC cartoons to ever be made. The reason I just want to talk about this because I'm excited to see this, this universe of Black superhero come back into the spotlight. And just give a bunch of superheroes for us, Black kids and other Black people to enjoy, and have people that represent them on the big screen and in comic books and on cartoons. And Black Lightning was definitely a big part of that. Even though the show got a little, much like all the CW shows, it's
ending.
Yeah, I know it's ending. It got a little.
Black Lightning is ending.
It got a little iffy in season 3, and then it picked up again, but it didn't pick up enough for me to want to watch it again. I
didn't even finish season 1.
Yeah, I think I watched season 1, season 2, started to watch season 3, didn't like it, and stopped. But I like Black Lightning as a character. I also prefer him when he's bald. I kind of don't like him when he has hair and a beard. And they made him look just like he does in the show in Young Justice, and that upset me because I was like, make him bald. What are you doing?
I like how he looks in the Young Justice cartoon. No, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him bald. I do like how he looks in the Young Justice.
Yeah, I like him when he's bald. But
I just don't like bald superheroes. They just look weird.
You don't like bald superheroes?
They look weird to me. It's just like.
Do you like when Blade is bald and he has tattoos on his head instead of the hair?
No.
I agree with that. I like
him having hair.
Yeah, I don't like Blade when he's bald. Blade should have hair. He should have that cool haircut that Wesley Snipes got.
I'm not even like a big fan of Blade. Regardless, I just don't like. I just definitely don't like him when he's bald. Like, grow some hair, bro. Just
not hard.
Maybe it is.
One of the things I want the most is just my favorite thing about Spider-Man is his interactions with other superheroes. And I just want to see him interact with so many of the characters that haven't been introduced in the MCU. I want to see him interact with Blade. I want to see him interact with Wolverine. I want to see him interact with so many of these characters that he hasn't been able to interact with because they haven't been.
I want to see him interact with Daredevil.
Most definitely. I really want to see that. Which they got the rights back, so hopefully they get Charlie Cox back as Daredevil.
I pray to
God. So going into animation, I wanted to talk about. I talked about Carol and Tuesday and Shinichiro Watanabe earlier. I wanted to talk about what makes a gateway anime for adults specifically. for kids, it's a lot easier for you to get into anime. But some adults just see it as this weird. One, they see cartoons being for children. Two, they see anime as being super weird, and so they kind of stray from it. And Shinichiro Watanabe, he basically, the anime he makes are heavily inspired not by other anime, even though of course they are because he studied them to be able to get good at it, but mostly off of westerns like cowboy films, hip hop, and jazz, and all around just film and live action TV and stuff like that in general. He based his writing style in terms of anime off of film rather than the goofy kind of like very distinct anime style writing that we see in Japanese cartoons. His is more similar to a movie, and because of that, I feel like it's easy. It's a perfect gateway anime and easy for adults to get into because you feel like you're just watching a regular TV show. It just happens to be animated, and for me, that's all a cartoon is. A cartoon for me is just a regular TV show. It just happens to be animated. That's why I always say, Avatar: The Last Airbender isn't just my favorite cartoon. It's my favorite TV show. Period. There is no live-action TV show that I like more than I like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I overall like most cartoons more than I like any live-action show. And, Shinichiro Watanabe's work only enforces that because Cowboy Bebop is one of my favorite. It's my second favorite anime of all time. And Samurai Champloo is also in my top 10. And for me, it's the best gateway anime for anybody. Except for kids, because they're a bit more serious and heavy and deal with more complicated themes than I feel like kids would be able to get into. That's why I say, for kids, it's easier to get into any anime like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or something like that. But
Z was my first anime.
Yeah, so these are more for adults to get to it. And me and you talk about how hip hop and martial arts go together like peanut butter and jelly. Like they are the perfect combination ever. And Samurai Champloo is that. Have you seen Samurai Champloo?
I did see it. Bro, that's my favorite anime. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Because I was like, that is like the definition of hip hop and martial arts.
It's literally Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, and then Naruto are my top 3 favorite anime of all time.
Yeah, those are some of the best. Cowboy Bebop, like I said earlier, I finally watched the last 3 episodes because I watched the first 23 3 times all the way through and never finished it for some reason. And when I say hip hop, I don't mean just rap, because for anyone who doesn't know, hip hop isn't just music. Hip hop is an entire culture. Rap is just the music of that culture. Hip hop also includes dancing. It includes breakdance. It includes graffiti. It includes poetry. It includes a wide variety of specifically African American oriented culture. It isn't just exclusive to rap. And that's shown in Cowboy Bebop. Samurai Champloo, because there is graffiti in Samurai Champloo. There is breakdancing. One of the main characters, when he fights, he breakdances. And there's hip hop everywhere, because the soundtrack of the show is hip hop. And it also was like the beginning of lo-fi hip hop, because Nujabes started that whole wave. R.I.P. Nujabes. Like he's the reason that lo-fi hip hop exists, for real, along with a few other people. Which, by the way, in my Spotify Wrapped, the thing that Spotify does at the end of the year where they talk about the music you listen to. When I go to sleep, I listen to lo-fi. So obviously I fall asleep with it. When I wake up, it's off because it cuts itself off so that it doesn't destroy my battery. But basically because of that, my Spotify Wrapped is just full of a bunch of artists I've never heard of that are just lo-fi artists, because the most music I listen to is lo-fi, because I literally listen to it while I go to sleep. So it literally plays for 3 hours while I'm sleeping before it cuts itself off. Jazz is obviously shown a lot in Cowboy Bebop. And something that I was, I can't think of a phrase, but I got shown was that Cowboy Bebop takes place in a futuristic setting, but uses an older style of music, Whereas Samurai Champloo takes place in a older setting and uses a newer style of music. I never really noticed that dynamic before until it was pointed out to me in a video I was watching. And both I feel like jazz it's also a timeless jazz and westerns are timeless kind of ways of telling stories. Jazz is a type of music that I feel like doesn't really have an age. No matter where you hear it, it doesn't ever feel old. It's just jazz. Right. Jazz is just jazz. You never think of it being old, even though in a lot of ways it is. And the same thing with westerns. Even though westerns are started in like the early 20th century, like most stories today still follow the same story beats that westerns started like 100 years ago. And we still have movies that follow those story beats. And these things combined with hip hop, which is becoming like, not just hip hop, but rap specifically, which is becoming a timeless kind of genre of music. And hip hop being an integral part of African American culture that's never going to go away. He uses these timeless genres to tell stories, which then in turn make those stories timeless. And they never get old. They never feel old. Every time you watch it, it still feels brand new. Every time I rewatch Cowboy Bebop, it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. Cowboy Bebop is so good. Hopefully the live action is good because I don't know, live action anime be disappointing. I have hope. I always have hope of these things being good because they can be good. They can. But sometimes for some reason, they still turn out bad, and I hate it. Verona Kenshin really kind of boosted my morale when it comes to anime, film, and TV live action because it's good. It's really good. The story's a bit because, they have to fit it all into 3 movies. The first one was really good. The second one was probably my favorite in terms of action. The story wasn't as good as the first one. And the third one was the worst, but it was still decent. But I feel like Cowboy Bebop, since it's in a TV format, they could actually tell the story properly. Anything you have to say? Because you've been quiet. You look like you're playing Assassin's Creed.
I'm not playing Assassin's Creed. I'm just making sure that my downloads are okay. But I don't like anime movies. But I do love.
Not specifically about live action anime, just like Shinichiro Watanabe's anime, like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and how they are kind of perfect for like people to get into anime if they like to.
In my opinion, they are perfect anime for people that think anime is for children, because they are both not Samurai Champloo kind of is super violent at times, and Samurai Champloo in particular is very, I'll say very adult, in a lot of ways more adult than Cowboy Bebop. It takes place in a very, very fictionalized version of Japan, but it's still not very historical, but like fairly historically to the time period that it's based off of. And because of that, I would say I wouldn't recommend it for children because it is a very adult, again, very, very adult anime in my eyes. But it's perfect. It's short. It's very short. Almost every episode, except for like one episode that's like 2 parts. It's very standalone. You can jump on in basically any episode, and I mean, you don't really need to know what's happening because it's an anthology show, really. So, except for like the last episode. The last episode
is 3 parts.
The last episode is 3 parts. Okay, so yeah. Then it's very anthology based. So you have like a good 20 episodes to just like watch wherever, pick up whatever episode you want. Personally, my favorite. Oh, I don't even know my favorite. My favorite is probably when they fight the God Hand guy, and he kills Jin, or he thinks he kills Jin, and he's about to kill Fu, and then Jin comes back, and he's like, I gotta get in. Like, he's like, there's like a very small sliver of time where I can strike this guy.
Yeah.
And oh my god, it's like, oh, I love it. I love it so much.
It's so
but
good.
Oh my god, and Cowboy Bebop. They're like another level of art. Like it's just like honestly, most anime, and I know a lot of anime fans are probably gonna like really hate me for this, but most anime is like either mid to like slightly above subpar, and then there's like Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop are like up here for me. Like those are art.
Not much touches them. There's barely anything that could ever touch it. I know you said
I don't think, in my opinion, nothing.
Oh no, I agree with you.
In my eyes, nothing does.
In my eyes, I don't think there's anything better than Cowboy Bebop. Even though for me it's on my number 2 list, that's due to sentimentality. Bleach is number 1 because it was the first I watched. It was the one that got me into it, and I still love it to this day. It's honestly, legitimately, still a good anime and manga. But in terms of just story and plot and action, Cowboy Bebop beats it out all the way, and it is, in my opinion, the greatest anime to ever be made, ever.
See, personally, I hold Samurai Champloo above Cowboy Bebop because I love Samurai. Jin is one of my favorite anime characters of all time. I love like the hip hop inspired like setting and everything. Cowboy Bebop is my second favorite though. Like it's Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, Naruto, everything else just like way below.
Yeah, because shonen anime tend to be so predictable sometimes because of the way their stories are told.
They're 90% of them.
They tend to aim. They tend to be aimed for children, so they make it kind of the writing isn't always as complicated and I don't want to sound pretentious, but I guess artistic. And
don't want to sound pretentious. It's just a fact. It's like it's the blatant
for me,
fact.
There's 2 shonen that are just because it was Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo aren't. I don't really think they're considered shonen, but
I don't consider them shonen at all.
I think there's another level of shonen that's basically like the adult version of shonen that like anime like Tokyo Ghoul is that I think they're considered. I honestly can't remember what the name of that genre.
Should Tokyo Ghoul even be considered a shonen?
No, it's not a shonen. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
okay, I was just gonna say I don't think I would consider.
I'm saying that Cowboy Bebop would probably fall under the same category and genre that like Tokyo Ghoul is. But the 2 shonen that I think really kind of just elevate the genre like far beyond any other anime ever could is Full Metal Alchemist and Hunter x Hunter. Man, like when you first watch Hunter x Hunter,
I do like Full Metal Alchemist.
You wouldn't expect Hunter x Hunter to get as complicated and well written as it does just based off the first season. The first season is very much your traditional anime kind of like tournament arc. And it just, like I said, it feels like a tournament arc. And then once you get, I think just like directly after that season, it could immediately it's good that first season. That first season will hold your attention. But around the latter half of that season, and it starts to get into the second season, which is probably that people argue whether that second season or the last season are the best seasons, but because they're both really good. It's just, I don't know. Not much touches Hunter x Hunter. And like you said, Full Metal Alchemist, really, really good. I've talked about it before, how every character matters.
Forgetting that.
There is no wasted character in Full Metal Alchemist. Any character you meet, they'll come back. There is no such thing as a character that doesn't come back or isn't important. Every character matters. And I'm a sucker for a decent to large cast that all matter and are interesting. I love large cast because I like to have a lot of characters to really grasp onto. And in a lot of ways, even though it's called the Full Metal Alchemist and Edward is the Full Metal Alchemist, it doesn't focus on him as much as you think it would.
I think Full Metal Alchemist no, that's not even true because my favorite character in Naruto isn't Naruto. But I was gonna say Full Metal Alchemist might be like my favorite anime where like the main character isn't my favorite character. But Naruto's not my favorite character in Naruto. Sasuke is. But
I don't think
Sasuke technically counts as a main character.
I don't think any anime other than because Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo don't have a main character. There's like a cast of characters that all are the main characters. Because of that, I can't say that my favorite character isn't a main character or that he is a main character because there are multiple main characters. But most anime,
I would say
my favorite character is almost never the main character. Like almost never.
I would say I don't know, I would consider Sasuke a main character because in my opinion he's just as important as Naruto's, and in Naruto their stories flow basically the exact same path.
Yeah.
Like they're like reflections, and like when something happens in Sasuke's story, it happens in Naruto's story, and something happens in Naruto's story, reflected back in Sasuke's story. So I would consider Sasuke a main character. So I would have to, and then I don't know that I would agree with you on not Samurai Champloo, on Cowboy Bebop specifically, just because I feel like Spike is focused on more than the rest of the cast. Like I feel like he is.
Yeah.
He probably would be the main character in my eyes. In my opinion, I feel like he is the main character of Cowboy Bebop, and I know that there is.
Yeah, there are definitely more Spike-centric episodes than there are anybody else.
Yeah.
I feel like if it had to go in order of who had the most episodes about just them, it would go Spike, Jet, what's her name? The one with the yellow top. I hate that I forget names. I made a whole joke.
I don't remember her name.
Faye, then
Faye, yeah.
Then Faye, then Edward, then Ein, in order of like who has centric episodes. I made a whole joke about that in the last episode. Whenever you get a chance to watch it, of me forgetting names, and I have a counter every time I forget a name. I say this Dijon forgets a name number like 200 because I forget it.
This is gonna be like number like 352.
It's so easy for me to forget names when it comes to Star Wars. There's so much stuff.
See, I remember all of their names. I remember like everybody's name. But oh my god,
dang, I forgot.
That's a problem. But yeah, no, Jin is my favorite character in Samurai Champloo, and he's part of the main three characters.
Yeah, I want to talk about Naruto real quick. So I mean, I seen you watched all of it.
Yes. Oh yes, but I have the entire manga too.
Yeah, I made a tweet. I've read the entire manga. I stopped watching anime, I think, after Asuma died, and then I was just reading the manga. So
no, it's such a sad
I made a tweet that it would have made way more sense and would have been cooler if Lee and Sakura got together, and if they had a kid, the kid would be like the most OP ninja to ever exist, because he would have the strength of Sakura, whose strength is insane. He would have the taijutsu skill of Rock Lee, and not assuming 100% probably would teach him how to open the gates. And then if that kid also learns the 1,000 healing jutsu, they would be able to heal their bodies while they're in the gate, so that they would be able to display that level of enhanced strength that you get when you're in the gates, while not destroying their body, because they could heal themselves. Do you know how OP that kid would have been? And also, it made so much more sense, because Lee had a crush on her for so long, and Sasuke, I love him. He's a great character, but he's not a good person. You don't have to be a good person to be a good character. He's not a good. Don't you dare. He's not a good person.
I would disagree that he's not a good person. I feel like he's a bad friend. I don't feel like he's a bad person, though. I feel like he's a bad friend.
I'm upset that you even are trying to argue that he's not a bad person.
All right. Look at it this way.
Just because he was put into that situation because of what happened to him as a kid doesn't change the fact that he's a bad person.
Hear me out, right?
Even if you're forced into a situation, that doesn't change the reality of the situation.
Hear me out.
Go ahead.
The only bad thing I would say he did was try to kill Naruto.
He's tried to kill.
That's honestly, he didn't know. That's not true. The only people he actively tried to kill were Orochimaru, who, let's admit it, deserved to get killed, because up until that point in the series was basically the main villain. He tried to kill Madara. He tried to kill Danzo. Danzo blatantly deserved it. Madara was blatantly a villain.
What do you mean tried?
He did kill Danzo. He did kill Danzo. Danzo, let me put it this way. Danzo tried to survive. let's change that.
Let me
Danzo
tell you
tried to survive.
the people that matter or who he tried to kill. He tried to kill the third Hokage. He tried to kill all the Kage. He tried to kill Naruto. He tried to kill Sakura. He tried to kill
the third Raikage. He tried to kill the third Raikage.
He tried to kill all of them.
But
he tried to kill all of them.
His goal wasn't to kill all of them. His goal was to kill Danzo. The third Raikage got in his way. But his goal wasn't to kill the Kage. His goal was to kill Danzo.
All of them got in his way, and he would have killed any one of them.
If they had gotten in his way, he would have killed them.
The third Raikage was just the only person that get in his way for the longest.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But the third Raikage wasn't his goal.
Kakashi, the third Raikage,
He didn't try to kill Sakura.
Killer Bee, he definitely tried to kill Sakura.
Didn't try to kill Sakura.
He didn't.
He hit her with a Getsu to get her out of his way so he would be able to fight Naruto without killing her. I feel like people really don't understand that fact. He didn't try to kill Sakura.
What was the redhead girl's name? The Uzumaki, Karen or something like that?
Oh, Karen? Yeah. He didn't try to kill her. She got in his way, inadvertently got in his way. Danzo put her in his way. But he was trying to kill Danzo. She just got in his way. But he was not trying to kill her. That was not his goal. He didn't try. He actually kept Sakura away from getting killed. I feel like people really don't.
But that's such a small thing. He still was, like you said, he was a horrible
friend. And he also didn't try to kill B. He was trying to capture B.
He was definitely a horrible friend. You're right.
He was trying to capture B.
You're right. He was trying to capture Killer B. But also, he's done a lot of bad things. Like, we can't pretend like he isn't a bad person.
He didn't. That's the thing. Like, even when he was
his reasons, the reason he got to that point, even though he was essentially forced into the situation, doesn't change the fact that he was going to kill everyone. He was going to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. That was his goal at one point. That
was the worst thing he did, but that was at the end, and that was everything else he did up to that point wasn't necessarily bad, though. And he had a very logical reason. He had a very logical reason.
So did Thanos.
Okay, but Thanos wasn't a bad person. He was just going about it in the wrong way.
He was going planet to planet.
He
was going planet to planet, killing half the people on the planet. See, look, no, this conversation.
And he had a reason to do it. He had a very logical reason.
Now you're justifying.
He had a very logical reason.
And you justify
Thanos was the good guy.
You justifying Thanos.
I'm not just Okay.
Tells me everything I need to know about how you feel about Sasuke. Because I love Sasuke. He's my second favorite character after Kakashi. But he was not.
Thanos was not a bad.
Can we both?
Thanos just did a bad thing.
Can we both agree that he definitely shouldn't have been with Sakura?
Yes, but I feel like our reasons are different.
Because for me,
I feel like our reasons are much different.
It's two things. One, first off, is Sakura is just like, why? Why would she want to be with a person who was shown to be, like you said, a horrible friend to her and Naruto?
He is a horrible friend. I will admit.
Trying their damnness to get him back. And why did he decide to do it? That's what I'm confused about. Because, like we said,
I have a very.
It makes sense. Like, it would have been.
I have a theory behind that.
If he actually did end up with Karen, or honestly, I think he should have just been single and like just had a kid out of wedlock. It would have made way more sense.
I definitely agree that he should.
If one day he was just traveling and he was horny, he went and had sex with someone, and then he had a kid but didn't know he had a kid. That would have made way more sense.
I would like that.
That would make way more sense. A random kid came to the village and they had a shotgun and we're just like, who's this person? That would way more sense. Like, I think he should.
That would make a lot more sense. That would make a lot more narrative sense too.
Yeah, I think he should have stayed single or ended up with someone who we don't know. Because all the people that he did know, it made no sense why any of them would ever want anything to do with him ever again outside of being friends. Because anything further than that is clearly not a good idea.
My thing is, though, with Sakura, I'm not going to say that I feel like he loved her up until they were adults. I don't even know that I would say he was really attracted to her up until they were adults. I feel like, people who are like, I don't want a relationship because I'm more focused on my career.
Yeah.
I feel like Sasuke was like that. He was like, I want to focus on my revenge, so he can't really get sidetracked. And I feel like he was like that all the way up until they were adults. And now here's where it has me really messed up. In Boruto, you have to do this. By the time Sasuke is an adult, by the end of the original Naruto Shippuden, is on a path to redeem himself and to become a much better person. You have to admit that yourself.
Yeah,
yes. By Boruto, I would say he's a fairly decent person. He's a pretty good human being. He like protects Konoha from the shadows. He goes on like shadow missions and all that stuff.
He's a better person.
Here's what has me messed up. Sakura is blatantly emotionally abusive to this man by the time they're adults and married, and she's like, let me think about it. She blatantly insults his intelligence. She blatantly, I believe it was the manga that she called him a bad father, which, I mean, like, I'll admit he's a bad father, but he's also a working man who has a job. Like, it's not as if he was at home in the village, I'm 100% sure he would be there for Sadara. Like, it's not like he's purposefully avoiding his family. Like, he just has a job to do, and his job has him traveling, like, a lot. Like, it's not like he's purposely, like, being negligent to his child. And she's insulted his intelligence. She has insulted him as a human. It's just like,
for me, and honestly,
it's a little late to do all that.
What really makes their relationship suck for me is that it's just all around toxic on both ends, and they shouldn't have got together. Neither of them are good for each other.
They shouldn't.
I don't understand why that was a choice, right. And I feel like it would have made way more sense for Lee and Sakura, because I feel like they could have actually built a connection, because they actually did eventually become friends, and it would have made more sense if they ended up together. And like I said, it would make more sense if...
I feel like Sakura is a trash human being.
Yeah, I feel like, well, that's Kishimoto's fault mostly, honestly. There was this video that this dude posted about how 1010 could have been such a better character if Kishimoto just actually wrote decent, like, women in his manga, because she basically had the potential to wield a lot of really powerful ninja tools that were basically...
Oh, yeah.
Always like it's like a lot of characters that he kind of just threw away for the sake of Naruto and Sasuke. Like Lee and Neji, Jesus Christ, he disrespected both of them heavy. He like did not care about Lee or Neji after the first part of Naruto. He just gave up on them. Yeah. And it makes me sad because Lee was one of my... He's still...
Tamari?
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Tamari is my favorite, totally in my top 5 favorite characters from Naruto. She is very well written. What I don't understand is how she is from a village that's not the main village, is not technically part of the main cast, and is better written than all the women in the main cast. So I'm like,
you're absolutely
this
right.
One child from the Sand Village, she and Shikamaru become a joke, and basically like, she's written almost perfectly in my eyes because of her relationship with Shikamaru, and like she enhances Shikamaru enhances her, and like they're perfect. They're like, I'm not gonna say they're perfectly written characters, I feel like no character is completely perfectly written, but like she's better written than all the women in the main cast. Like she's written very consistently, she's written very well, she has great motivations. It's just like,
yeah,
like why couldn't she just be part of the main cast? Why not like introduce an entirely new like main cast of women and then have Tamari be like the only one left?
And for me, it's just that all of that, like he could have just written all of the characters that, all of the girls that way, because for him he was just there's a lot of people saying that he might be like misogynistic and stuff like that, which honestly might be true based on the way he wrote those characters. But also Kishimoto, he tries to use the excuse of he doesn't know how to write women, which is not an excuse, because writing a woman isn't that different from writing a man. And he tries to make it seem like it's the most difficult thing in the world, when everybody's like, dude, it's not that deep. We're all human. All humans, to an extent, think very similarly.
And act the same.
If you can write a man, you can write a woman, there are very little differences. Like stop, like he's trying to make these genders feel like they're two different animals and like creatures, like women are aliens from some far off world. They're not. They're humans, just like all the men. And you could write them as human beings who actually have personality and are actually significant to the story. and not just like crying because like Sakura, she became a decent character at the beginning of Shippuden, and then once again, he threw away all of that character development. And it's hilarious at the very end when she tries to pretend like she's on the same level as Naruto and Sasuke when she's nowhere near their level.
That meme where it was like 100% power to Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. That's in Team Power or Team 7 and 99.9% power, and it was just Sasuke and Naruto, and the caption was like, "Oh, I see. No, Sasuke lost his sword or something like that." And I was like, "Yeah."
Somebody said it would have been cool.
She really makes no difference. Like,
yeah, somebody said it would have been.
Oh my god, Naruto and Sasuke are the two most powerful characters in the show, and then she wants to act like she's on their level. Like, you're not even top 10 powerful. Like, sit down.
Yeah, somebody said it would have been cool if she somehow.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, I was just saying, somebody came with a cool idea. I'm not sure how it would work, but it was just, I thought it would be interesting. She, even though I know it's a Kekkei Genkai and it was like unique to the first Hokage, if she could use wood style.
And that's the thing. It's not even technically unique to the first Hokage because Tobirama winds up with the same ability, but I think it's because I could be wrong about this because Tobirama's not my favorite character, but like, wasn't he like imbued with cells from Hashirama, and that's why he has wood style or something like that? I know he's not part of their family, but
all the people who use wood style are like imbued with Hashirama's cells, like Yamato and Madara. They both were like imbued with his cells, and that's what made them able to use his wood style. Because wood style is a Kekkei Genkai. It's like genetic and it's specific to him and his bloodline. Honestly, right. Not even like the reason people even said that is because like Tsunade should have been able to use wood style, and that's honestly
because she's related to him.
Yeah, and that's how you. This is how you tell he's such. And I can't believe we went on a Naruto tangent, but this is how you like how bad he was at trying to write woman because she was the weakest of the bunch in that fight against Madara, and she didn't need to be because she should have been able to use wood style. And you know how cool it would have been if it would have been in that fight if she was using wood style against Madara, using wood style with all those other Kage fighting Madara. Awesome. Like she didn't need to be as strong as her grandfather. Was he her grandfather or great grandfather?
Hashirama.
He was grandfather.
I think he's her grandfather. I'm pretty sure because like the thing about the Naruto like bloodlines is they're really not. It's not as far back as people think it is.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as far back as we think it is. But she didn't need to be as powerful as her grandfather. Just the fact that she could have just been a little bit more powerful than Yamato, and that would have been enough. It's supposed to be a genetic trait. Like it should have been passed down onto her. Also, another time we're gonna have to do like a top.
And that's another thing.
The top 10 Naruto characters, like in terms of. Because I was thinking about that before. I was thinking about that, like, I think the other day of just, like, top 10 Naruto characters. Because that's just the fun. It
would be Naruto, Sasuke, and then, like, 3 or 4 different Otsukis, and then just, like...
Well, no, that's the thing.
From there,
I want to go, like, original series, like, all the way up to the very end of Naruto before Boruto. Because, honestly, I haven't watched much of Boruto. I kind of just fell off it eventually and just I wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah, I don't like Boruto at all. They mistreat so many characters.
What was I going to say?
Yeah.
I think I was going to say something about Madara, but I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was Hashirama. Hashirama was so cool. Also, Hashirama, he would definitely be in like top 5. He was stupid, powerful. He was
for sure.
Like
he and Madara were like basically equals before Madara got.
He was stronger than Madara. Like he destroyed Madara. Like they show it in that flashback. Yeah. Madara is on the ground beaten, and Hashirama he's a bit hurt, but he's far less hurt than Madara was. So it's very clear that Hashirama's strength in comparison to Madara's was vast. Like they were close, but not.
By the time Madara got 10 tails, though, he was soloing the entire. Madara with the 10 tails was. I mean, Madara, insane. Madara,
he was soloing people before he got to 10 tails. The moment he showed up on the battlefield, he was running through everybody.
What was it? He was blind and still beat all 5 Kage. Killed almost. Well, he basically killed Naruto and Sasuke before they got their power from the 6 paths. He basically killed them.
Straight up killed them. That's such a big,
Yeah,
like,
no,
that's
and
such a huge anime trope of, like, around the end of the series, you kill the character and bring him back to life.
yeah. And then he was blind the entire time. Like, people forget he was blind doing all of this. Like, he had no eyes.
And then, like, Guy is also dead, because I'm going to have to cut that out, but he went to 8 gates and was, like, going toe-to-toe with Madara, even though it was for a short period of time, because he was, like, dying. But Guy...
And then Madara, like, literally...
Like, Guy shot up the, like, power scale, like, in mere seconds. And also, like, it's always, like, Kakashi's chakra is so inconsistent. Because before, when he used Kamui, he would, like, drain himself and, like, pass out. But then in the final fight, he was
just, like, spamming it. Like,
yeah, even before Naruto started to share his chakra with everybody, Kakashi was still out here using the Kamui like it was nothing. I mean, I guess you could say
spam.
You could say maybe he got better. That could be an excuse, but, like,
I feel like my whole thing is, I feel like that should just be like, that should have been something that they showed rather than it just being a thing. Like, you should have showed that he was, like, getting better with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Instead of it
rather than he just like pop up in the final fight, just like
yeah,
like,
because it was low-key wild. Naruto, Guy, and Kakashi were fighting all of the other Jinchuriki who also had a Sharingan and a Rinnegan by themselves, and they were holding, and Obito by themselves, and they were holding their own. That is wild. It was those three, just them.
Yeah.
And they were holding their own when they shouldn't have. In reality, they should have been destroyed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, they should have been done. Like,
Naruto, for all its faults, it's really good. It's fantastic. It holds a lot of nostalgia in my heart. When I go back and listen, like, every now and again, I think actually when I was, like, about a month ago, when I was cleaning the house, I listened to every single Naruto opening. Like, while I was cleaning the house, I had Naruto. I had a compilation of the Naruto openings playing on YouTube in the background, and I was just listening to that while I was cleaning up. And it just brings back so many emotions whenever I hear those Naruto openings. Early 2000s anime openings just have a feel to them that modern anime openings don't. They're still good. They aren't obviously not as nostalgic because they're newer, but, like, it was also just a different kind of sound. I feel like more anime opens were more kind of like punk rock in the early 2000s. But we're like an hour 30 in. We're just gonna bust through this last section real quick because we went on
I haven't even looked at the notes for this episode.
We went on the hardest Naruto tangent ever, and so I'm gonna start off with I want to talk about DMC Devil May Cry because we started talking about it a little bit before, and you were talking about it's a good game, and I'm like, yeah, but no. And here's my thing.
I mean, it's fine gameplay wise.
Hear me out. I agree with you. Here's the thing. It is a fine game. What holds it back is literally its name. Because the reality of the fact is, it didn't need to happen because it came out 5 years after Devil May Cry 4. So naturally, you would go, that is like, it makes sense that a new Devil May Cry game would come out 5 years after the last game, right? That's how games usually work.
Right.
That's how long games take to make. But when you think of that, you go, well, wouldn't it just be Devil May Cry 5? Why wouldn't they just make Devil May Cry 5? Because it wasn't like the popularity of Devil May Cry had went down so much that they needed to reboot it. That was shown when they showed Devil May Cry 5 last year or the year before that, because it came out last year, and people were excited for it. People still love the franchise. Like, this was back in 2013. The love for the franchise went nowhere. But for some reason, they just decided, we're going to reboot it. And my problem is, one, that didn't need to happen. Two, that game, literally, if you just changed, there's 3 things they could have done. And this game would have been great because you wouldn't be constantly comparing it to the game that it's based off of. Because one, change all the names. Change the names of the weapons and the characters. Change Virgil's moveset because he fights very similarly to, like, main Virgil, the OG Virgil. And change his design a little bit because it's a little bit too close to the original Virgil. And then from there, you have a completely original game and a title, obviously. Because if you change those things that I just mentioned, it doesn't seem like Devil May Cry at all. That game is such a far cry from the original games. It's nothing like them at all. So, and that doesn't...
Like, story-wise is the complete opposite.
Yeah, that's why people didn't like it, because people were like, why is this new Devil May Cry game that didn't need to be made? This should have just been a 5th game, and it should have been, you know, in the main timeline. And it's being made by a different studio for no reason. When honestly...
And again, fine gameplay. Like, perfectly fine. And as a matter of fact, it's good gameplay. It's just...
I think that the game
actually did... Why just make a different game?
Because a lot of people actually like that game, and I think the game would have did better, and it would actually probably eventually got a sequel if it just wasn't a Devil May Cry game. Because it didn't feel like a Devil May Cry game. It didn't need to be a Devil May Cry game. That should have been an original Ninja Theory game. It should not have been a Devil May Cry game. Because if it wasn't, it would have probably actually been successful. Because people wouldn't be constantly comparing it to the other games, which is fair. Why wouldn't you compare it to the game that it's based off of? And it's nothing like. And honestly, that Dante was a complete a-hole. He was nothing like the original Dante. He was not nice. He was not a nice person. I'm trying not to curse. He just wasn't a good person. I mean, he was a good person because he at the end of the game, he decided to save humanity. But he was just being mean. I sound like a little kid saying mean and stuff because I'm trying not to curse. But he was just not being a good person. And
Family-friendly podcast. We try. We try our hardest.
I hated him. I just hated his personality so much. I really did. And the dialogue, the entirety of the game just was like the most emo thing I've ever seen. And you think that the original Devil May Cry was as emo as it could get. Nope. DMC Devil May Cry.
The original Devil May Cry, like, it's very punk rock.
Yeah, it's more punk rock. Whereas
but it's not.
This one went super, like I said, emo. And it just, they even make a joke in the game where one of the bosses calls him emo. Like, and I'm not even the type of person who is mad at his design. I think his design is fine. I actually like the design of his guns, Ebony and Ivory, a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of his sword because I think the original Rebellion looks better than the one in that game. But they look so different from the originals that, like I said, this could have been a different game. This could have been its own original game that was inspired by Devil May Cry, maybe. But for it to straight up be a Devil May Cry game was unnecessary. That's all I want to say about that game.
What I really hate about it is the fact that it's named DMC, because Devil May Cry is you can automatically just shorten it to DMC, but now whenever I talk about DMC, or whenever I talk about Devil May Cry with friends, I'm like, oh yeah, it's DMC. They're like, you mean that trash game? No, I'm talking about Devil May Cry, not the game, not DMC. Like, now you've ruined me having to say Devil May Cry every single time.
The actual title of the game is DMC Devil May Cry, which is just weird because that just means it's called Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry. But before we end, one more thing I want to talk about Doom. So I've been playing Doom Eternal.
I didn't play Doom Eternal. I played the first one.
It's difficult. It has a learning curve. It is so different from any first-person shooter I've ever played in my life. There really is no aiming. There's no reloading. You just automatically reload. And there are so many weapons.
Okay.
There's so many weapons. And you have to use all of them for the most part. It's just, there's so many moving parts. And that's exactly what I put in the notes. There are so many moving parts. Every button is an offensive option. There's no such thing as defense in this game. In this game, the best defense is a good offense, and you have to be aggressive. If you sit still for a second, you'll die. But it is really fun. It is really fun, and this is the type of game that would be perfect to play with friends because, first off, 100% you're going to die. You're going to die a lot. So you're going to be guaranteed to have to pass the controller to someone else because you're going to die. And also, when we turn 21, we're gonna have to do a drinking game. Because I was watching these two dudes and this girl stream it, and basically,
is it every time we die, we take a drink?
Every time,
I'm not trying to die of alcohol poisoning.
Like every time everybody dies, not every time just one person dies. Like every time you go all the way around, every time everybody dies, you take a shot. That would be super fun. But it also got my mind thinking. You know what would be dope? Because Doom was actually, I heard, I would have to, I forgot to research it, but I heard that it was meant to be kind of like, it was meant to be a companion game to the Alien franchise. And then I thought, you know how cool Doom would be if instead of demons, you were fighting aliens and predators? That would actually...
Personally, I prefer the idea automatically that it's...
That would actually be really cool.
I automatically prefer killing demons.
No, I like demons.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't want it to replace, but I'm just saying it doesn't have to necessarily... It could either be a DLC for Doom, it could be a Doom spinoff, or it could be its own game that's just similar to Doom. But for you to play as like a Marine, since, the Doomslayer is already meant to be a Marine turned demon hunter. So imagine you're just playing as a Marine in the Alien and Predator universe. You go to the planet, because throughout the franchise, there's a bunch of different types of aliens. And different types of, they've already shown the different types of, predators have different types of weapons, as shown in like the hunting grounds and even the movies. So imagine you're a character very similar to Doom Guy, but you're in the alien universe and you're on this alien planet and you have to go around and kill a bunch of aliens and predators and, all the different types of species that they decide to add. That would actually be really, really fun.
I don't know. I think it'd be really
like
cool.
I'm thinking about it, like I'm just imagining Doom, but less bright because Doom is super brightly colored. At least Doom Eternal, the original one,
Doom Eternal is. Doom 2016 is not. But
it was a bit more dull. When you were outside on Mars, it was a bit more bright because it was like bright orange. But when you were inside,
it was still very diluted colors.
Yeah, it was still kind of dull. Whereas Doom Eternal was more bright, and I would want obviously this kind of Alien Predator game to be more like of the colors of Alien Predator, like bluish green hues with black and darkness and things like that. That's what I would want the hues to be like. And I was just thinking that would be such a good game. I just want id Software, the studio that makes Doom, to make a Aliens game now. I really want this game.
You know what I'm excited for? Because you mentioned id Software and IO is very close to id, and you already know where I'm going with this. James Bond game. I'm so excited for that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I definitely forgot about it. That teaser was really good of them loading the
very good teaser
of them loading the bullet into the gun and they're showing you it from the inside of the barrel, and then it shows obviously the very iconic barrel as it points at
barrel shot. Yeah,
and then it shoots out and it says 007. That was dope. And it makes sense. They already make a game series that was very clearly heavily inspired by 007. And it just makes sense that their studio would be working on a 007 game. And of course they started working on it as soon as they finished the Hitman series, because this is supposed to be the last of this kind of like section.
Oh, is it? That's disappointing because I love the Hitman series.
Yeah, it's supposed to be not the last game. Not the last game ever, just the last game in this trilogy.
I still hate that though, because this trilogy has been so much better than every other Hitman game. Like, I love the Hitman franchise and I love all the other Hitman games, but like Hitman games were lowering in quality after like each installment, and Hitman Absolution, even though I love Hitman Absolution was like such a low bar for Hitman games, and this trilogy really revived the franchise. So like, and I loved the story that they were going with this franchise too. I did not want it to end. Like,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna stop making them completely. I just know that they said like this was gonna be the end of the trilogy, and I guess they're gonna start making James Bond games, which I'm not mad at that, honestly.
I'm not mad at that at all.
But yeah, that's all I have for today. So, you can follow us, the Mustardcast, at _mustard_cast on Instagram and the Mustardcast on Twitter. You can follow me at Dijon_mustard_432 on Instagram and Dijon_432 on Twitter, or you could just type in Deshaun Fortune, DSHAUN Fortune on either of those websites and find my many accounts. And you can find Amir at T_H_N_N_Amir on Instagram. And
which should be in my hand, yes.
It will definitely be in your hand. And yeah, I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
We gotta come up with a
we do. I always forget to say the outro. You gotta like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you're notified when we upload a video. And goodbye.